You have now tapped in with the introspective father and son duo. Last name may be strange, but never strangers to the game. Adjust the listening devices and keep it live.
Coming in, flex. I just wanna win, LABB, who we running with, 2233, I'm on 10 again, state your name.
Hello, and welcome to another installment of No Strangers to the Game. This week, we're in Oregon, Eugene, Oregon. As always, I'm Ja, that's Troy. And yeah, we have a lot going on as we've talked about in the last few episodes. There's just a lot of transition, a lot of things going on right now. The reason we're up in Eugene is for the Olympic trials that I'm competing in. And so the family came out to support, and it's been a good experience thus far. I made it through, qualified through the first round. So the second round, the finals are tomorrow. I guess you guys may not be listening. Time may not line up, but yeah, we're on to the finals. And so excited about that. How have you enjoyed being up here in Eugene and Oregon and I guess the Pacific Northwest?
First of all, the weather is great. I couldn't ask for anything better. The scenery is, awesome. The trees, just the environment, the nature is very soothing and relaxing. And I've been out here probably 30 years ago when I was playing ball. We played University of Oregon. And so I remember those just brings back those memories of being on the campus and in that stadium and playing and hearing the crowd. That's exciting. And I remember as a kid with my grandparents, Granny Josie and them, we used to come up here in the summers. We'd come up through Oregon, all up through Seattle and those areas. We would camp for a couple of weeks. We'd pick the blackberries and just hang out in the campsites and swim and just do things that were a lot different than what we would typically do back in the desert. So it brings back those memories, and to be here for this occasion is really exciting as far as the Olympic trials, making it to the finals. I mean, seeing the elite athletes of the sport of track and field. So that's exciting. It's a good experience for not only myself, but for you and the rest of the family, just to be able to absorb this, take it in, and to do it on Father's Day. It's a great present, great gift. And so I'm looking forward to tomorrow and seeing you jump in the finals. I think some big things can come about, and we're expecting some big things. So I'm looking forward to it. So let me ask you, how do you feel about the experience, considering being here for Olympic trials? Very few people get this opportunity to compete at this level and have an opportunity to go to Olympics. What's your thoughts on it, and how are you absorbing this at this point in time and in this moment?
Like I've been telling you for the past couple of days, it's kind of one of the best mental spaces I've been in for a track meet. I'm not downplaying the, I guess, magnitude of the moment. And obviously it is a huge meet, the biggest meet I've ever competed in for sure. But there's also no pressure or, I'm making sure to kind of keep it all in perspective. I think for me, I've gone to big meets in my career and completely messed up, and it was horrible. And I've gone to big meets and I've succeeded. And so for me, it's like, I've seen how both of them go. And ultimately, life keeps going one way or the other. I want it to go a certain way, but there's no pressure. And when you're going in with that way, you're just making sure to have fun with it, execute to the best of your ability and focus on that, as opposed to, wow, this is a big meet, I better make sure I'm on. It's a great mental space to be in. So I've enjoyed it. I'm taking it all in, talking to the professional athletes. I remember in 2017, I went to the national meet up in Sacramento, and it was like, I was starstruck. I was seeing all the stars of the sport, and it was like, oh my gosh, It was overwhelming. But now being in the sport a little while longer, I wouldn't say they don't, it's still cool to be around them, but I'm not, just dumbfounded by their presence. And so this experience has been a lot more fun, obviously, to make it to the finals and go have a shot to to, let it all hang out and see what happens. You never know. And so I'm enjoying it. And I've enjoyed the Pacific Northwest as well. I mean, I know we've talked about it as a family. We really like this area. Now, we caught it during a good time, the summertime. But that's kind of been pretty cool to enjoy this area, messing up our allergies a little bit. But other than that, man, can't complain too much.
Yeah, I know you said you had a chance to speak with, some of your idols in the track and field, particularly Will Clay. What was that like?
No, I mean, I've met Will before, but to talk to him and him kind of encourage me about keeping going in the event, because, as we talked about in the last episode, that's kind of one of those things I've been going back and forth on and, wanting to train post collegiately. But to hear, somebody like that say, man, you're close, you know what I mean? You're right there, a few minor tweaks and you're on that elite stage, you're on that elite level. It means a lot. And so it's been an encouraging meet, and for so many different reasons, and that's one of them. So it's been cool to, I guess, be around those guys and watch them up close.
No, that's cool. I never had that experience, at least in the midst of it, being able to converse with my idols. When I played football, I was always on the level of those who I was playing with. Now I got a chance to, while I was in the midst of it, have one of the great of all times tell me, hey, you got a shot at being really good at this and going to the next level. So I can imagine that being, very boosting, a confidence booster.
Yeah.
And so give you some things to think about once we get through this phase of the trials and potentially, hopefully, the Olympics to see what happens next.
Yeah, no, it's been, I mean, and it's kind of one of those things, I guess I've heard a lot of people say that, hey, you can go far in the sport. You can do this at a high level. And it means a lot every time, but it's like, I'm starting to be like, okay, well, I need to see this, I need to see it happen. But to hear it from, like you said, one of the best to ever do it, it means a lot as well. And so I think the key for me is patience. And like we talked about last episode, I owe it to myself to see it through. You know what I mean? I'm only 22 years old, probably in more so of a 19-year-old body. So I'm not too worried about breaking down or health or anything. I've been healthy, knock on wood. But, I owe it to myself to see it through. And so it just helped to have that encouragement for sure.
Yeah, and it's one of those sports where I think the older you get, the more mature, the more success you have. So most of the time, youth in this sport don't fare as well as somebody who's a little more mature and their bodies are developed. So like you said, just 22, and you look at the guys that you're competing against, some of them close to 30.
Yeah.
And, they're still competing at a high level. So there's room to do it. And so it's exciting.
Yeah.
So also this week, you had your first week on your new job.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did that go?
It's been a hectic week. So let's see. Thursday, I left Wednesday from Manhattan, Kansas, drove to Albuquerque, New Mexico that night, stayed there. Next morning, got up, drove to Phoenix. I spent Thursday in Phoenix, got into my new apartment, literally emptied my car, laid on the floor. And Friday, I got up, came home, Saturday, Sunday at home. We did the show. That was when we was there. Sunday night, left, came back to Phoenix, got up Monday morning and started my job. Obviously, knowing that I was not going to be there Friday and I won't be there Monday and Tuesday, I made sure to go in early and stay late to try to get ahead of, the onboarding process and a lot of these entry-level things that we're doing. So it's been a crazy week. It's been a lot going on, still trying to train. Obviously, I had the biggest meet of my life coming up. So, I wanted to make sure I was staying active in training and doing that at a high level, but also, I started a brand new job, first big boy job, as they say. So I wanted to do that to the best of my ability as well. So it was funny because we've talked about for the past couple of days, I had no room for nothing else. First of all, there's no Wi-Fi in my apartment yet, no furniture or anything. So it was just, really hunkering down and focus. It was work. And then when I was on the track, I was on the track. And when I went home, it was eat, sleep, and that was it, and get up and do it all over again. But it was a good week. Working for a NBA franchise is extremely exciting, especially one, we just finished watching the Western Conference Finals game 1, and they pulled out a win. It's an exciting time to be joining this franchise. This is things they've never, experienced. And so there's a lot of transition, a lot of opportunity. And it's exciting, to be in the office. It seems like somewhere I can flourish. I enjoy the people there and I enjoy the environment. They're about business and you're going to go in there, you have to work, but it doesn't seem like it's just a place that people go in there and they dread coming into work every day. And so that's something I know I wouldn't deal well with. So I'm excited. I'm enjoying it so far.
So what is it you like most about your new job? I know you're just starting out and this was your first week, but what are some of the highlights that you really look at and say, this part I'm really excited about and I'm, looking forward to doing more of?
Well, one of the first things is I get to go to games. First and foremost, I'm an NBA fan. I love NBA basketball. I love the stars of the league. I've enjoyed watching the game for years now. So to be able to have, tickets to games, I had tickets to this game tonight, couldn't go, but, to be able to be around an NBA franchise and seeing how the inner workings work, it's just so exciting to me. But even more that, I think I'm going to enjoy what I do, making a sale, talking to people and really trying to, I guess, give them a great experience. I'm selling a product I'm passionate about. I'm not selling toilet paper or something that's like I would dread going into work every day. I get to go in there and tell people, look, I love the NBA. This is why I think you should enjoy it and come buy tickets to see the game. I'm not trying to convince you of something I don't like as well. Because if I had the money, I would buy season tickets. You know what I mean? And so I think that's something I can do every day. And then, like I said, the environment in the office is great. I think the team that we have is really laid back and loose. And so it's somewhere that I think I'll enjoy being.
Well, it shouldn't be too difficult of a sell considering their current success, and looks like they should have some success, for at least the immediate future to be able to do something and compete and be, very competitive in the Western Conference and, competing for a championship. So I think that makes the job a lot easier.
Yeah.
And fun. People want to align themselves with winners. They want to be a part of that process. They want to be a part of that whole environment. So I think it's a good time, as you said, to be there and to be a part of that franchise and learning. So what is your ultimate goal? I know this is a starting point, and many times when you start out in your career, you don't always end up there.
Yeah.
And this may or may not be the exact place where you want to be as far as sales, but what is your ultimate, goal as far as a career outside of track and field?
Yeah. Like I said, I think I'm going to enjoy doing ticket sales and selling season memberships. And it's something that I think would be cool for some time, but I don't see myself selling season tickets for the next 20, 30 years of my life. I know I want to become an executive, whether it be in the private sector of sports, with an agency, or whether it be working my way up with a franchise. You know what I mean? I could see myself being an executive with the Phoenix Suns. But a part of my goal with the next, however long it may be, is to figure that out, because I don't fully know. But now that I'm entrenched in the industry, I can speak to people who are in positions that I'm interested in and say, well, what is that like? How do you see that? Watch how they do things and see, where do I really see myself ending up, and what's the direction I really want to go. So it's just good to be a part of it now. And then I can really, I guess, network and make the maneuvers necessary to get where I want to go. But to answer your question, I'm not 100% sure. I have ideas. I think, ultimately I was like, our cousin, Tony Regans, we mentioned on the show a lot. He was a general manager. And that was kind of like, I want to do that. Now, I don't know. Is that where I'm going to end up? Not exactly sure. But like I said, to be around it, I believe I'll start to really get an idea of where I want to go in this industry and start to figure that out and make the moves to get there.
Yeah, it's interesting when I think back. I remember as a kid when you stated that, and you didn't show a whole lot of enthusiasm, but you said, you were just talking, have random conversation. And I remember we used to go to the Cal State games and you long jump, and you didn't necessarily win, you didn't do bad, but you weren't that guy everybody's looking at us like, wow, this dude can go.
Yeah.
And I remember one thing you said, you were about 9 or 10 years old, and you said, Dad, I think I'll get a scholarship, for track and field. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. I didn't think much of it at the time. And to see that you was able to take those action words and verbs and manifest the reality. I mean, you have to work hard and you have to put in the effort that you did, but to see you go out and everything that you stated that you were going to do, that you've actually been able to accomplish, getting a scholarship, competing at the highest level in NCAA track and field, and now on the biggest stage, competing for a spot on the USA Olympic team. Did you ever really, when you said that, was that something that you really thought about, or was it something that came up and you just said it? Did you really believe it, or was it something you were just saying at the time?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I was football, a little bit of basketball. We did track maybe once a year, really. I didn't really start track until freshman year of high school. I don't know. I think I was always a very observant kid, as you've pointed out before. And I was very honest with myself, and I knew where I was going. I was like, football, as much as I loved it, I was just a little small, a little scrawny, you know what I mean? Not that I couldn't have worked hard to get there, but it was like, it would have been a struggle. Basketball, I think I ultimately could have been pretty good at basketball, but I don't think it came completely naturally to me as much as I loved the game. Track was one of those things that like, I saw as my body matured and as I started to figure things out in the sport, I saw myself going to that route. Now, did I 100% believe that when I said it? I don't know. Usually I was 9 to 10 years old. I barely remember that. I vaguely remember saying that though, but I just think I was one of those kids who was always really honest with myself. But, I would say freshman year of high school, I did track because my older sister did it and, people in our area did it. And so I was like, all right, I'll do track or whatever. And I remember I jumped my first time ever triple jumping. I jumped 33 feet. And I remember a coach saying, if you can jump 40 feet by your senior year, you be doing great. And I was like, cool. I didn't know any better. 40 feet sounds great. That was our school record at the time. And by the end of that exact same year, I was jumping 40 feet. And so I started to really, first of all, I enjoyed winning. And so I was competing and, winning and stuff like that. And so I started to really look at it and look at I've always been good at comparing myself to others. And I looked at other people doing the event at the pro level. I'd watch them on YouTube and stuff like that. And it was like, I don't see why not. I look at some NFL players and I'm like, I don't look like that. Yeah, I'm not built like he is. If he come in and hit me, I'm in trouble. In basketball, they're 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", you know what I mean? And I didn't think I was going to get that height. And so to be a 6'1", it was going to be tough. And so I looked at the track athletes and I was like, I'm there. I can do that. I can be with those guys. And so that's when I really started to believe it and work for it. And it wasn't easy. You know what I mean? And you know every step of the way. It was not easy. It's been a long journey and we're not done yet. It's not going to get any easier from here. But yeah, I've always believed that I had a chance.
Yeah, even when you was jumping out in the middle of the desert on a conveyor belt, no track. I mean, that was a humble beginnings to be able to sit where you are now, to have a chance at making the Olympic, track and field team and to compete, for the United States in this summer. So I must say I'm very proud of you, not only for what you've accomplished as an athlete, but just the person you've become, to be able to be a student athlete and graduate in 4 years from first University of Purdue University, and then transfer over as a graduating senior to K-State and, the runner-up in the Big 12. I mean, I think at every level that you competed, you were able to get on the podium. And so that says a lot. That says a lot about you, your character, and once you set your mind to doing something, you pretty much is going to accomplish that. And so that's one thing I always saw in you, is that if you were engaged in something, I just step back and let you do it. Yeah. Now, there's other areas where it was like, I got to go hit this dude upside his head because he ain't listening, he ain't going to do it, and he got to do this, and it was just areas where I said, I got to make sure that he finds that thing that he loves so that me and him won't have to fight. And he ain't got to fight in life because he's getting up doing things that he don't have an interest in. And so that's why I've always pushed you guys to find that thing you love. Whereas your sister, on the other hand, Tia, she was always the go-getter. She just kind of, whatever it was, she accepted the challenge and she worked hard. And she's finding those things that she loves. And as you can see, she goes hard, and she's always putting in the time, the commitment, and the effort to make those things happen. And Malia, we still working with her to see where she goes. She's extremely talented, very smart, intelligent, sometimes almost to a degree where she thinks she's the smartest one in the room. Yeah. And so, but I think with her as well, I could see a lot of success is just finding a way to continue to motivate her and get her to that point where she can begin to self-actualize and self-motivate to do the things that she needs to do to be successful. So,
Yeah, I mean, just a quick note on that. I mean, it's kind of the same for me. I noticed at a young age, like, if I don't care, I don't care. You know what I mean? And you can knock me upside of my head and I'll do enough to get you off of my head. But if I didn't care, I just wasn't I was never going to give my all to it. And so track was one of the first things that I was like, whether it was, because when Paul came along, he's like, we're working out at 6 a.m. And he says it now that was a test to see how bad I wanted it. But it was never even a question of if. It was just like, all right, let's go do it, because I don't know, it was the first time in my life I feel like I really was able to chase something. And even over these last almost 10 years now that I've been doing it since high school, whether it was 6 a.m., 5 a.m. workouts in college, or, the grind of being a student athlete like you talked about, it never felt like work. There was times where I got, stressed or, obviously was very tired, but I never even once thought about, do I want to keep doing this? It's always been yes. And so for me, I think that's why I owe it to myself to keep going, was because, it's not a matter of if I want to do it. Now I'm allowing outside forces to dictate whether or not I can. My heart says I want to, I'm letting other things decide for me. And that's something I never want to do. So I'm excited to see where we go from here. Tomorrow, man, let's go get it, and let's make something happen.
Well, I expect big things, and I know the people back in the neighborhood, back in the community, cheering for you, proud of you, and excited. And so you got a lot of support back home and in places that you've been, from the schools and the universities. So everybody's looking and rooting for you to go out there and do your thing. And so I believe that you will, and I believe that you will walk out of there with your head high and proud of what you was able to accomplish.
Most definitely. Another thing we should get into today is this weekend. I guess this holiday weekend, ain't it? It's Juneteenth. Just to switch gears here. I mean, give your overview of what Juneteenth is and what it originates from.
Well, Juneteenth essentially is a celebration of the day, and I believe it's in Texas, Galveston, Texas, after the Emancipation Proclamation that was handed down in 1865. When that hit, 1863, excuse me, when that came out, everybody didn't get the memo. So many of those that were enslaved, particularly in Texas, they didn't get the memo that, hey, we free. Yeah. Y'all can go ahead and roam about the country and do your thing. It wasn't until 2 years later, 1865, where they actually got the notice, and they were informed that, hey, slavery is abolished, is no longer legal here in the United States. You guys are free. And so from that point in Texas, I know they began to celebrate Juneteenth, because that was the day in which they have received that information. And I remember as a kid, didn't understand what it was. Because our family's from Texas, going out to Texas, and there was this big celebration. And at the time, I was just thinking, okay, we're having a picnic and we're just hanging out, and didn't realize that was what that was. I also remember we used to always go to the Texas picnic in Riverside. And it would be, I was assuming that it was all the people who came from Texas and their families that lived in the Southern California region, that we would go there. And I remember this big park, and it was just mounds and mounds of people, and it was just like, wow. And so I think that was a part of that celebration. I think it happened around the same time. We didn't call it Juneteenth, but I knew it was around the same time of the celebration of Juneteenth.
Yeah.
And so I guess I've always celebrated, but I just didn't really know what it was until recently growing up, finding out, okay, Juneteenth, and this is what this means, and this is why we celebrate it. So with that being said, I think it's, being that it's a federal holiday now, I think that's a great recognition. And I think it's good to be able to see that those things are starting to be recognized and acknowledged. But I still, as we talked about, see it as a symbolic gesture.
Yeah.
And it's a holiday that everybody's going to celebrate. But there's some certain things that we as a community have been looking for and asking for and needing that seem to have not hit the legislation in a way that people are really ready to vote for. Regardless of how you feel about reparations, that's something that has not really came to the floor to be voted on, to really be discussed seriously. We're talking about police brutality. There's a lot of discussions, but legislation has not been handed down to address that. I do know recently President Biden did the hate crime bill for Asians, which I think is great. And I think I'm in support of that. However, we've been on the bad end of police brutality, hate crimes since we've been in this country, and there's been no specific hate crime bill for African Americans or Blacks, or some of us are referred to as American Africans. There's nothing that have come down to really specifically address those concerns. And so for me, although I acknowledge the federal holiday and I think it's great, again, I don't think it's enough. I don't think it's really addressing our needs in a way that we need them to be looked at and addressed.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, it just seems like a weird thing to celebrate. That'd be like if you were wrongly imprisoned for 30 years and it was like, oh, we actually were supposed to finish your sentence 2 years ago, and now you celebrate the day you actually got out. It just seems weird. In my opinion, it seems like it'd be more, I guess it would make more sense, in my opinion, to celebrate the Emancipation Proclamation being signed, because I guess that was kind of the first day. But nonetheless, I think it is something to celebrate and something to, just commemorate.
Right.
Almost as if, that's kind of where that was a tough time and a tough thing we got through, but look at where we came from. And that's kind of just letting us know where we come from. But well, like you said, I mean, it's once again does seem like one of those cool, like this is a great gesture. And my biggest thing is, you're not even supposed to learn about Juneteenth in school. I guess there's federal laws against teaching about that particular time.
Right, certain states.
Yeah.
So they're challenging the critical race theory, in which we talk about the various accomplishments and contributions of various ethnic groups, specifically Black and African Americans here in this country, and that's really been contested and challenged on many levels. And it's kind of sad that would be challenged, because it's really not Black history, but it's really history. Mm-hmm. It's just that Black people made those contributions. So we study and we listen and we celebrate the history of many other things that have happened. And I think that's just part of history. However you label it is one thing, but it's part of the fabric of this country. And I think it should be acknowledged and it should be taught, so that we have a true history of this country and a true understanding of what this country has come through and where it's at. Because I see the country, the ideals of the United States of America are wonderful. To be able, everyone is to be treated equal and considered, same, so to speak. And then to not be able to acknowledge the contributions and all the things that have come about to the various cultural and ethnic groups seems to be a little disingenuous. And it's a bit sad. And I think the country doesn't get a chance to fulfill its goals, or should I say it's what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know what's the word I'm looking for.
It's principles?
It's principles. There you go. Okay. It's principles of being the land of the free, home of the brave, because you're leaving out a really big segment of your history and not acknowledging that history and those people who contributed to that history. And so I think our country is going to continue to have those challenges ethnically, culturally, racially, until we can really deal with these things in a way that's meaningful and in a way that allows us all to show the contributions and where we come from and how we are able to work together. And it doesn't mean that, hey, the country is a bad country, because it's one of the greatest countries in the world. There is something in our history and past and even present that needs to be dealt with, but it doesn't say let's throw everything out because of these things that have happened in the country. Let's celebrate where we've come from and let's make efforts to continue to improve on those things.
Yeah, and on a positive note, I think the thing that I'm noticing is that there's discussion. Everybody's kind of saying, it's the same thing we're talking about right now. It's like, hey, that's not enough. We need more. We appreciate it. We believe that that's a great, step, but we need more. And so just the fact that we're acknowledging these things and being able to talk openly about it, whether it be on social media or, within our households or in groups, social settings, I think that's key. And that's going to push the needle. That's going to keep making sure that we're not settling for, this, that we're satisfied with that. Cool. No, everybody's keeping their foot on the gas and making sure we're pushing this thing forward. And I think that's going to ultimately help us keep moving forward. And that's going to be key for us. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just think we got to live up to those ideas and those principles. And it's going to require all of us to, make the effort and the commitment to make that happen and fight that resistance. Because there seems to be some resistance for whatever reason. But in order for this country to be as great as it can be, then those ideas and those things have to become reality for all of us, or else it's just a big lie and a big fabrication of what people express in our Constitution. And so I think we're going to get there, hopefully sooner than later. It's been a long process, and I guess it's a marathon, but hey, getting a little tired of the front.
Hey, but you got to keep running, man. The marathon continues. America, we're going to hold you accountable. The principles that you said. So, yeah, I mean, I think that speaks for itself. And so I guess we can end it right there. We, appreciate everybody for tuning in. Everybody back home, appreciate the support. Go out and finish the job tomorrow. Happy Father's Day. I appreciate everything you've done for me and my sisters and what you've meant to us and fathers everywhere. Keep doing what you do. I know you don't get the credit you deserve all the time, but we appreciate you guys and our listeners and our supporters. We appreciate all of you and hope you keep tuning in.
All right. Peace.
Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you're notified every time we post a video.